some tips on communication and phrasing questions and conversations, I guess, upwards when we're in our project teams and so on. If you can see a meeting or a report can be done differently or not at all even, but you might be stuck with people that that's the way we've always done it.
Mm-hmm.
How would you, I guess, go about trying to have those conversations?
Yeah, so there's probably multiple ways I can answer that. There's the one that springs to mind though is, as a consultant, it's often how we're used. And when I say used, I don't mean that in a negative context. It's actually because we're independent to an organisation. If we agree with what you're trying to achieve, we're being paid to come in and improve, let's say, your working environment, then let us know. And then we can then present what your idea is in the paper, and it's much easier for that to be agreed. Unfortunately, that's human nature. So that's probably a quick, expensive, could be. If you're trying to do it internally, is really framing so people safeguard what they've got, so they don't want to lose things over what they gain. So what I'd recommend you bear in mind is what is that person concerned about? What will they lose by changing this report, changing this way of working? Because that's probably what they're focused on. So if you can address that first of all, and then you talk about what they gain from it, then you've got more chance of actually getting it through. Most people, when they present these things, talk about the benefits. You know, this is why we need it, it's improved efficiency, etc., which doesn't talk to that person's loss. And so that person, their headspace isn't in the gain, it's already in, I'm going to lose something, I'm going to protect myself, I'm going to keep hold of it. So in the communication, I'd recommend thinking about what people's responses, what will they lose as a result of this change, this action.
That's a great reminder.
Third element I'll say is communication is two-way. So often I see communication being one way, which is an email out, and then the executive goes, oh, I sent that email out, a month ago. Why aren't people doing it? So it needs to be two-way. And to actually get communication through in today's world, which is majority digital, actually you need to mention the same thing at least 15 times is the latest statistics, 15 to 22. So it used to be, 7 to 15. It's really increased dramatically now. So it's reinforcing and not necessarily saying that repeating what you're saying. It's saying it's in different forums, different people saying it, different mediums, but it all needs to be the same message coming through. So that individual gets bombarded with this same message, and then obviously they'll then hopefully hear that message, and it's getting that feedback to say, yes, I've heard it, I understand. Sometimes understanding and actions are delayed. So I'd recommend definitely having some way of a poll or a check-in at meetings. Does everybody understand? Does everybody agree? And then obviously the behavioural change happens after that.
No, that's really useful. Thank you. And one of the things that you said, which sounds obvious, but I'm guilty of doing it every now and then as well myself, is forgetting to put myself in the shoes of the person that I'm trying to pitch whatever I'm pitching to them, just because I've done all of my own, research and comms and think I have the answer. Big deal. Have I thought about it from their perspective and what they need in their...
And interestingly enough, statistically, the more senior you get, the more difficult it is to have empathy, so put yourself in somebody else's shoes, because the more senior you are, typically people will say yes, or they'll try and do what you're asking them to do without questioning. And so if as a CEO of a large like Boeing, your CEO, they've got to be very mindful of that they don't want yes people. They want to make sure that they create a safe space that allows people to have their views. And then once the discussion's happened, obviously the CEO makes the decision if that's appropriate. but allowing that conversation is really important. So I definitely recommend to those people listening to this it's allowing that safety of conversation and trust. And what we found over the last few years, the best way to achieve that is transparency of information. So if you've got data and you present that data, then it's very difficult for people to say no on an emotional basis.